Somebody should look at her. That woman, my own sister, tried to take my husband from me.
That is not true. Who told you that?
The microphone was still ringing with feedback when my sister, Bimbo, pointed at me in front of 400 people and said, "Everybody here should know the kind of woman my sister Bimbo is." Not with love, not with gratitude, with rage. I felt my plate of chin-chin slip from my fingers. I didn't even hear it hit the floor. All I could hear was the silence that swallowed the entire reception hall. 400 people holding their breath, turning to look at me, the woman in the blue ashoke who was suddenly the villain in a wedding story she didn't write. I had paid for that wedding. Every naira of it. The hall rental, the catering from Mama Joke's kitchen in Victoria Island, the dress Bimbo wore, the ivory beaded gown she had cried over in that boutique in Surulere because she said it was the most beautiful thing she had ever seen. I had pulled out my card without blinking. I was a civil engineer earning good money, and my sister was my heart. Whatever she needed, I provided. That was just how we were. Our mother died when Bimbo was 11 and I was 19. From that day, I became everything to her: mother, sister, provider. I deferred my master's program for 2 years just so I could keep her in school. I moved into a single room in Mushin just to save money. I ate gari and groundnut for dinner more nights than I can count. Not because I was poor, but because every extra naira was going toward Bimbo's school fees, Bimbo's uniform, Bimbo's future. And now, Bimbo was standing at her own wedding with her new husband beside her, telling 400 people that I had tried to sleep with that same husband. She sent him messages, dirty messages. I saw them with my own eyes. She smiled in my face every day and was chasing my man behind my back. This woman, my own blood sister, tried to steal my husband before I could even marry him. The room erupted. Aunties gasped. Old men shook their heads. Someone shouted "Chai" from the back. I saw our cousin Titi cover her mouth. I saw Pastor Femi from our church lower his eyes like he was embarrassed for me. My legs did not move. I could not move. It felt like the ground beneath my feet had turned to water and I was sinking slowly, slowly, with no one reaching in to pull me out. "Bimbo," I said. My voice came out smaller than I wanted. "Bimbo, what are you saying?" She did not look at me with confusion or hesitation. She looked at me with certainty. That was what broke me the most. Not the accusation, not the crowd, but the way my sister, the little girl I had held on the night our mother died, the girl whose school fees I had bled for, looked at me like she genuinely believed I was her enemy. "Don't call my name," she said quietly into the microphone. "You know what you did." And she walked back to her table, took her husband's hand and sat down like she had just handled something necessary. I walked out of that hall alone. No one stopped me. No one came after me. Outside, the Lagos sun was hot and indifferent, burning the back of my neck like it had no idea the world had just ended.
I need to tell you about Emeka. Because Emeka is where everything starts to fall apart, even though I did not know it then. I met Emeka Eze 3 years before Bimbo's wedding. He was charming in the way that men who know they are charming always are. A little too smooth, a little too fast, always saying the right thing at exactly the right moment. He worked in telecoms, drove a clean Honda Accord, and had a way of looking at you like you were the only person in the room. We dated for 5 months. 5 months of Sunday rides together, of evening calls that stretched past midnight, of him meeting Bimbo at the house and playing the charming future brother-in-law. Bimbo liked him. Of course she did. Emeka was likable when he wanted to. But I saw something underneath all that charm. A coldness, a temper that flashed too quickly when things did not go his way. Once, at a restaurant in Ikeja, a waiter brought him the wrong order, and the way his face changed, just for a second, made something in my chest go quiet and still. He recovered fast, laughed it off, but I saw it. I ended things with Emeka 5 months in. I was kind about it. I told him I did not think we were right for each other, that I wished him well. He nodded. He said he understood. He smiled that smooth smile of his. What I did not know was that underneath that smile, something had cracked. A year later, Bimbo met Toby at a work event, and they fell in love quickly and genuinely. Toby was a good man, quiet, steady, the kind of man who texts you to say he arrived home safely. I liked him immediately. Bimbo was happy in a way that made me feel like all those years of sacrifice had been worth it. Then, 4 months before the wedding, Emeka reappeared. Not to me, to Bimbo. I did not know this at the time. I only learnt it later, piece by piece, like picking broken glass off a floor. Emeka had looked Bimbo up on Instagram, slid into her DMs, introduced himself as an old friend of mine who just wanted to check on how she was doing. Friendly, harmless. Bimbo, who is warm and trusting, chatted with him. And slowly, carefully, Emeka began to walk. He told Bimbo that he and I had not just dated, that we had been deeply in love, and that I had ended things because I had developed feelings for Toby. He told her I had confided this to him. He said he had tried to warn her, but had been afraid she would not believe him. And then, and this is the part that makes my hands shake even now when I think about it, he created fake screenshots, fabricated messages, conversations between me and Toby that never happened, filled with flirtatious language and suggestions, with my face on the profile photo and my name above the words. He sent them to Bimbo the week before the wedding. Bimbo saw those messages and her heart shattered. She did not call me. She did not confront me. She sat with that pain alone, convinced by a manipulative man that her own sister, the woman who has sacrificed her best years for her, had been betraying her in the most personal way possible. And she waited until the wedding, until the microphone was in her hand and 400 people were watching. Because hurt people, when they have been manipulated long enough, sometimes want witnesses to their pain. If this story is hitting close to your heart, subscribe and stay with me. The truth is about to come out, and justice is coming.
After the wedding, Bimbo did not call me. Neither did Toby. Neither did any of the relatives who had watched me walk out of that hall with my head down. The silence that followed those days was the loudest thing I have ever experienced. It was louder than the accusation itself. Because noise you can answer. Silence just sits there, heavy, pressing down on your chest every morning when you wake up. I went to work. I came home. I ate. I slept. I told myself I was fine. I was not fine. I had always been a private person, the kind of woman who handles her own pain quietly, who does not call people to cry, who does not post her grief on social media. So I held it inside, that massive, shapeless thing that was equal parts heartbreak and confusion. Because I was not just hurt, I was genuinely confused. I had no idea why Bimbo believed what she believed. I had no idea where those messages had come from. I did not know what she had seen. I replayed every conversation we had had in the months before the wedding. I searched for a moment where I might have accidentally said something wrong, done something that could be misread. There was nothing. There was nothing because I had done nothing. 2 weeks after the wedding, I called Bimbo from a different number because she had blocked mine. She picked up and immediately said, "I know this is you, Benny." "Please," I said, "just talk to me. Tell me what I did. Show me what you saw." A long silence. Then, "You know what you did." "I swear on Mama's grave, I don't." She cut the call. I sat on my kitchen floor for a long time after that. "On Mama's grave," I had said. "On Mama's grave." And still it was not enough. That was when I understood how deep the wound in her went and how thoroughly someone had poisoned her. I started thinking, who had access to my name, my face, my relationship with Toby? Who had a reason to want to destroy me? My mind moved slowly, carefully, like someone crossing a flooded road, one careful step at a time, and then it landed on Emeka. Just a feeling at first, a small, cold recognition, the kind your body knows before your mind catches up. I reached out to a mutual contact, a woman named Shade, who had worked with Emeka at his telecoms company. Shade was one of those people who knows everything about everyone and does not pretend otherwise. I asked her carefully, in roundabout words, if Emeka had ever spoken about me after we broke up. Shade went quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Benny, that man was not okay after you left him. I don't want to put my mouth in people's business, but I think you should know. He was asking questions about your sister some months back. He was asking if she was getting married and who to." My blood went cold. The pieces were coming together, but nothing could have prepared me for what I was about to find out. I am not a dramatic person. I do not like confrontation, but I had lost my sister, my reputation, and 400 people's respect in a single afternoon, and I decided that I would not lose one more thing without a fight. I went to Emeka's office. I did not call ahead. I dressed simply, jeans, a plain blouse, flat shoes, because I did not want to look like a woman who had come to make a scene. I wanted to look like a woman who already knew everything and was simply there to confirm it. People respond differently to calm than to anger. Anger makes them defensive. Calm makes them nervous. He was surprised to see me. For 1 second, just one, I saw something flash across his face before he arranged it back into that smooth, easy expression. Fear. It was fear. "Benny," he said, spreading his hands wide. "What a surprise. How are?" "I know what you did," I said. I kept my voice even. "I just want to know why." He laughed, actually laughed. "I don't know what you're talking about." "You contacted my sister. You sent her fake messages, fabricated conversations between me and her husband. You destroyed my relationship with the only family I had left. I want to know why." His face changed, not all at once, slowly, like a mask sliding. The smile thinned, his eyes lost their warmth, and for the first time I was seeing Emeka without the performance, just the man underneath, stripped of charm. "You embarrassed me," he said quietly. "You ended things like I was nothing, like 5 months of my life meant nothing. I introduced you to my mother. And I ended things respectfully. That does not give you the right to." "You ruined me," he said, his voice hardening. "Do you know how long it took me to get over that? You walked away like a bus stop, like you could just step off and keep moving." I stared at him. "So, you decided to destroy my sister's life and mine?" He said nothing. "Did you think she would thank you? Did you think taking her sister away would somehow make you important again?" He looked away, and in that moment I understood everything. This had never been about revenge against me, not really. It had been about Emeka feeling small. About a man whose ego had been bruised so badly that he had spent months constructing an elaborate trap just to feel powerful again. My sister's happiest day had been his chosen weapon. But here is where God stepped in, because God is never early and never late. Emeka's receptionist, a young woman named Joy, who had heard the whole conversation from behind a thin partition wall, quietly pulled out her phone and pressed record. She had worked for Emeka for 2 years and had watched him mistreat staff, manipulate clients, and lie his way through professional situations. She told me later that she had simply decided she was tired of staying quiet. She sent me the recording that evening. I sent it to Bimbo without a single word of explanation, no caption, no voice note, just the audio file. Then I put my phone down and I waited. Sometimes the truth does not need your help. It just needs space to land. Bimbo called me at 11:30 that night. She was crying before I even said hello. Not quiet crying, the deep, ugly, gasping kind that comes from somewhere so far inside a person that it surprises even them. I had had her cry like that only one other time, the night our mother died. We had held each other in the dark of our small room in Akure, 2 girls with no idea what life was about to demand of them, and we had cried until there was nothing left. Now she was crying like that again, alone. "Bimbo," she said, just my name, over and over. "Bimbo, I'm sorry. Bimbo, I'm sorry." I did not say it's okay, because it was not okay. What happened to me that day, standing in that hall in front of 400 people, while my own sister accused me of something I had never done, was not okay. Being blocked, being silenced, being abandoned in my confusion for weeks, none of it was okay. But I also understood something that I had been sitting with since the night our mother died. That love and pain can live inside the same person at the same time. That Bimbo had not acted from hatred. She had acted from fear, the terror of believing that the one person she had always trusted had turned against her. Emeka had taken that fear and sharpened it into a weapon. The fault was his. The wound, though, was shared. "Why didn't you come to me?" I asked her. "If you believed what you believed, why didn't you just come to me and ask me to my face?" A long silence. Then, softly, "Because I was afraid you would deny it and I would believe you, and then I wouldn't know what was real anymore." That answer sat heavy in my chest for a long time. She had loved me so much that she had been afraid to test her accusation against me because my denial might have been enough to undo her certainty, and she had not been ready for that uncertainty. It was a painful, twisted kind of love, but it was love. "I forgive you," I told her, because I did. Because carrying that weight would not serve me. But forgiveness is not the same as forgetting. And love that has been broken and repaired, even beautifully, always carries the line of the break. We never fully returned to what we were. The easy, unguarded sisterhood, the late-night phone calls, the finishing each other's sentences, the absolute certainty that we were each other's safe place. That version of us existed before that microphone, before 400 witnesses, before Emeka. Some things, when they shatter, cannot be restored to their original shape. They can only be reshaped into something new. As for Emeka, Joy, that brave young receptionist, sent the recording not just to me, but to Toby as well, because she believed Toby deserved the truth about the man who had manipulated his wedding day. Toby confronted Emeka directly and severed every professional and personal tie they had. Word spread, as word does in Lagos, in the way that gossip spreads, but also truth spreads. Emeka's professional reputation, which he had spent years carefully constructing, began to crack. I did not celebrate it. I was not made for celebrating another person's fall, even a person who did what he did to me. But I will not pretend I felt nothing. There was a quiet, deep settling in my spirit, the kind you feel when the universe finally rights itself. Justice does not always arrive in the form you expect. Sometimes it arrives as a receptionist with a phone 3 months after the wedding in a thin-walled office in Lagos. Bimbo and I speak now, carefully, warmly even. There are moments at Christmas at family gatherings when something in her eyes looks at me the way she used to, with that complete unguarded adoration, and I almost forget the gap between us. Almost. She told me once, much later, that the worst part was not learning that Emeka had lied. The worst part was recognizing how quickly she had believed him, how deeply she had wanted to protect herself, that she had been willing to destroy the one person who had never once given her a reason to doubt. "I trusted a stranger more than I trusted you," she said, "and you are the only person who had ever given me real reason to trust." I held her hand when she said that. I did not have a response because there is no good response to that kind of truth. You just sit with it. You carry it together. That is what love does in the end. Not the love from films or Instagram captions, but the real African love that we grow up watching in our mothers and grandmothers. That love does not die easily. It bends. It bruises. Sometimes it bleeds. But if it is real, if it was ever real, it does not let go. The betrayal was never from hate. It was built on lies someone else planted. And in the end, the truth was the only thing strong enough to clear the ground.